Today's day 1 of a new series I'm starting where every grilled cheese I make in this series, the amount of cheese I use on that sandwich is going to double every single time. This series is inspired by Peter's Pasta, who's doing the same thing but with egg yolks in his pasta batches. I've tagged Peter in the video description, so make sure you check out his series. As you guys know, I'm lactose intolerant, so during this series I'm going to be using Cabot's Vermont Sharp cheddar cheese. This cheese is made with real milk and naturally lactose free due to the cheese's aging process. For day 1, I'm going to be using half an ounce of the yellow cheese and half an ounce of the white cheese for a total of 1 ounce. In the next video, I'll use a total of 2 ounces, then 4 ounces, then 8 ounces, then a pound, then 2 pounds, and so on. I'm really excited to see how long we can keep this going for. But for now, here's a grilled cheese made with 1 ounce of cheese. Today is day 2 of a new series I'm starting where every grilled cheese I make in this series, the amount of cheese I use is going to double every time. And because everything I make on my page is lactose free, I'm using Cabot cheddar cheese. All of Cabot's cheddar cheeses are made with real milk and naturally lactose free. In the last video I used 1 ounce of cheese, so this time I'm using 2. I also decided to throw a little bit of Italian herb seasoning on there just to switch things up. 2 ounces of cheese fits pretty well on standard slices of sourdough bread, but the sandwich was still a little light on the cheese in my opinion. I'm not complaining though, because I have a feeling that's not going to be a problem pretty soon. If you're watching this before I've released more videos in this series, drop a comment and let me know how many days you think I'm going to be able to do this for. Oh, and this is what a grilled cheese sandwich made with 2 ounces of cheese looks like. See ya on day 3. Today is day 3 of my new series where every grilled cheese I make in this series, the amount of cheese I use on that sandwich is going to double every time. A lot of you commented on day 1 saying I was starting too big, and I'm kind of starting to think you might have been right. It's only day 3 and we're up to 4 ounces of total cheese. And honestly, it's a pretty respectable sized grilled cheese sandwich. But being that we're now at a normal sized grilled cheese, every grilled cheese after this is going to be pushing into uncharted territory. There's been times where I've made 10, maybe even 20 grilled cheese in one sitting, but I've never tried to make a really large grilled cheese. You guys have been super supportive of this series so far, so please keep it coming. The better this series does, the further I'll be able to push it, and I want to push this as far as possible. But for now, this is what a grilled cheese sandwich with 4 ounces of cheese on it looks like. I'll see you guys soon for day 4. Today is day 4 of my new series where every grilled cheese I make in this series, the amount of cheese I use on that sandwich is going to double every time. On day 3, I used 4 ounces of cheese, which means today I have to use a full 8 ounce bar of cheese. As always, I'm going to be using Cabot Creamery's Vermont Sharp cheddar cheese. This is an award-winning cheddar cheese that also happens to be naturally lactose free, which is great for me because I'm lactose intolerant. A lot of people seem to think that this series is going to be over pretty soon, but I think you're underestimating how crazy, stupid, and addicted to cheese I am. As far as I'm concerned, we're just getting started. But from this point forward, I'm going to have to get a lot more creative with how I'm actually making this sandwich. Today I'm using the largest loaf of sourdough bread that I could find. It's kind of hard to tell on camera, but trust me, these are really big slices. Today was also the first day in this series where I've actually had a hard time melting the cheese. I tried cooking it on the panini press first, but it was clear that the cheese wasn't going to melt, so I switched to the oven. I honestly thought we were going to get a little further in this series before this had to happen, but it was time. And now, for the moment I'm sure you've all been waiting for, this is what a grilled cheese sandwich made with 8 ounces of cheese looks like. I'll see you all on day 5. Today's day 5 of my series where every time I make a grilled cheese, I double the amount of cheese I use in that sandwich every time. I know a lot of you have been excited for today because we're using a full pound of cheese. I've also upgraded my blocks of cheese from 8 ounces to 2 pounds. It's crazy how quickly we got to a pound, and it's even crazier to think that in the next video I have to use 2 pounds. Trust me when I say this is a lot of cheese. Now for the bread situation, I'm using the same loaf I used in the last video, but this time I'm cutting the slices thicker and hollowing them out slightly so that they can hold the cheese better. Because I already know I'm going to have to cook this one in the oven, I toasted the bread first in a pan. I also just want to say I appreciate everyone who's concerned for my health during this series. But don't worry, I'm not eating these all myself. And I'm not wasting anything either. If you're watching this video, I've already posted a part 2 where you can see how I'm eliminating food waste during this series. But anyways, I melted the cheese in the oven and I even put it on the broiler setting for a few minutes to brown the cheese slightly. And now it's time for the main event. I broke out my grilled cheese samurai sword and broke into this thing. This is what a grilled cheese sandwich made with 1 pound of cheese looks like. I'll see you all on day 6. In day 5 of my Double Cheese Please series, I mentioned that I wasn't eating all of this food myself, but I also wasn't letting it go to waste. In this video, I'm showing you what happened to the 1-pound grilled cheese I made. I took the two halves, wrapped them separately in tinfoil, and then labeled them with instructions on how to reheat them. Then I put them in a bag and headed out on a field trip. The other day, I walked by the sign for a community fridge in my neighborhood, and I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to share some of this grilled cheese with somebody in need. As the grilled cheese in this series get bigger, I'm hoping to distribute the future ones while they're still warm. If you work for or know a food shelf in the city that would be willing to help me do this, please reach out. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next one. Today's day 6 of my series where every time I make a grilled cheese, I double the amount of cheese that I use in that sandwich. And today we're using 2 pounds of cheese. I decided to use 1 pound of Cabot's pepper jack cheese in this one just to change things up. Like the other cheese I've been using in this series, this pepper jack is naturally lactose free. I remember how excited you guys were when I used 1 whole block of cheese on day 4, so I can only imagine how excited you're going to be for this grilled cheese that uses 4 blocks of cheese. This was literally so much cheese I had to empty the cheese grater halfway through. Now you're probably wondering, what kind of bread's this going to go on? Well, I went and bought another giant loaf of sourdough, and this time we're cutting it into discs. And I'll be honest, I kind of killed it. I know this is going to be hard to believe, but I was not going to be able to fit this on my panini press, so I drizzled olive oil over it and then put it in the oven on the broil setting to toast it. This actually worked pretty well, and I was really happy with the result. This series has been super fun, but because this is the largest grilled cheese I can fit in my oven, this is going to be the last video. Nah, I'm just kidding, don't worry, the series is not over yet. But I am looking for some bakeries in New York City that can help me make larger loaves of bread and cook this grilled cheese. So if you know a bakery that can help, make sure you send this video to them. This grilled cheese was absolutely huge and ended up taking almost 20 minutes to melt all the cheese. But that's why I'm extra excited to tell you that this is what a grilled cheese sandwich made with 2 pounds of cheese looks like. I'm excited and a little scared to say, see you all on day 7 very soon. Oh, and I can assure you none of this grilled cheese went to waste. I had some friends over and they all dug in and even ate the cheesy bits that were left on the cutting board. Today is day 7 of my series where every time I make a grilled cheese, I double the amount of cheese used in that sandwich every time. A lot of you didn't think I was going to make it this far, but today we're using 4 pounds of cheese on one sandwich. Remember the blocks of cheese that I started this series with? Yeah, this sandwich has 8 of those on it. While you watch me shred cheese, I just want to give a special thank you to everybody who's liked these videos, commented on them, and especially those of you who have followed me. I love you all, my little cheddar children. The more support you show these videos, the more resources I'm able to access, and ultimately the further I can push this series. And now it's time to talk about bread. For this sandwich, I reached out to my favorite pizzeria, Williamsburg Pizza. They hooked me up with 2 of their square pizza crusts for me to use as bread for the sandwich. As always, I spread some mayonnaise on the inside of the crust and then I loaded on the cheese. You guys already know this, but the cheese I'm using is Cabot's Vermont Sharp cheddar cheese that actually happens to be naturally lactose free, which is great news for me because I'm lactose intolerant. And yes, I know that's very ironic. Once I'd added the cheese, I threw these pieces of bread in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes until all the cheese was melted. Then was the most stressful part of the whole process, and I definitely will not be doing this for the larger sandwiches. Flipping one piece onto the other. But don't worry, it all worked out and we didn't lose any cheese. And now it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. This is what a grilled cheese sandwich made with 4 pounds of cheese looks like. But I'm not done, so please don't scroll away yet. Because this is a lot of food, I wanted to make sure that none of this would go to waste, which is exactly why I teamed up with the Urban Outreach Center of New York City to make this video. They let me use their kitchen and help me distribute the sandwiches while they were still warm to people who were in need of a good meal. That and everybody I met there was just incredibly awesome. But that's all for today. I will see you all on day 8. Today is day 8 of my series where each time I make a grilled cheese sandwich, I double the amount of cheese used in that sandwich every time. And today we are using 8 pounds of Cabot's Vermont Sharp cheddar cheese. For those of you watching from other countries, this is 3.63 kilograms of cheese. It's also 14,000 calories. But let me tell you, I definitely burned quite a few calories shredding all of this cheese. My arm was actually sore by the time I got to the end. But that's enough about cheese, it's time to talk about bread. As you guys know, the bread size I need for these sandwiches is so much larger than what's typically available. But luckily, the people over at New Light Breadworks are just as crazy as I am, and they were super excited to help make a custom loaf of ciabatta bread for this sandwich. And just to emphasize how big this bread really was, this is what a piece of ciabatta from New Light Breadworks normally looks like. And this is the one they made for me. I carefully sliced the bread in half, spread some mayo on it, and then started dumping on the bucket of cheese. After this, I put it in the oven at 300 degrees for about 15 minutes. But now it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. This is what a grilled cheese sandwich made with 8 pounds of cheese looks like. And thanks to my friends at the Urban Outreach Center of New York City, we were able to slice this up into 32 sandwiches and distribute them to people in need while they were still warm. Today is day 9 of my series where each time I make a grilled cheese sandwich, I double the amount of cheese used in that sandwich every time. Today we are using 16 pounds of Cabot's Vermont Sharp cheddar cheese. This is 7.26 kilos and 28,000 calories of cheese alone. And just for perspective, this is what the 1 ounce of cheese that we started this series with looks like compared to the 16 pounds. This was so much cheese that I had to have my friends at New Light Breadworks make a custom loaf of ciabatta bread for this sandwich. This is a normal ciabatta roll for reference. I carefully cut it open and spread half a jar of mayonnaise on this thing. Then it was time to pile this cheese onto the bread. I also forgot to mention that the bread itself weighed 11 pounds. So this baker is lifting 27 pounds of ungrilled cheese into the oven. I was worried all the cheese wouldn't melt, but they did an excellent job and it turned out perfect. And this is what a grilled cheese sandwich made with 16 pounds of cheese looks like. And we were able to cut this into 64 smaller sandwiches that were donated to people in need. Now before you swipe away, I want to let you know about the new series I'm working on. It's called Between the Bread, and I'm going to be making the craziest grilled cheese sandwiches I can think of. I've already posted episode 1, so make sure you go show it some love. Today is day 10 of my series where every time I make a grilled cheese sandwich, I double the amount of cheese used in that sandwich every time. And today we are using an incredible 32 pounds of Cabot Vermont Sharp cheddar cheese on one sandwich. Now I promise I saw all of your comments telling me to use a food processor, but I took that as a personal challenge and I grated all of this cheese by hand. That is not a joke. I literally woke up at 5 in the morning to grate 32 pounds of cheese. I literally had to buy a 17-gallon bucket so that I could actually transport the cheese to the bakery. After an hour and a half of grating, I was finally done and it was time to go to New Light Breadworks. New Light is just as crazy as I am and they hooked me up with this absolutely massive loaf of bread. This loaf of bread on its own weighs 22 pounds. Cutting this loaf in half was a real challenge because of how big it was, but as I cut through it, I was so impressed with how evenly cooked this thing was. These bakers did an incredible job. For this sandwich, I used an entire jar of mayonnaise, which is actually almost 2 pounds of mayo. Then it was time to add the 32 pounds of cheese to this sandwich and get it into the oven. If you've been doing the math in your head, you know that this sandwich weighed 56 pounds, so putting it in and out of the oven was a really difficult task. But we were able to do it and the sandwich came out great. And this is what a grilled cheese sandwich made with 32 pounds of cheese looks like. And in my opinion, the best part of all of this is that we were able to cut it up into over 100 sandwiches to distribute to people in need of a good meal. I honestly think this is probably the last one of these that I'm going to be able to do, but I'm going to leave that up to you guys. Today is day 11 of my series where each time I make a grilled cheese sandwich, I double the amount of cheese used in that sandwich every time. And today we have 64 pounds of cheese, but I'm actually not going to be making a grilled cheese sandwich. Grilled cheese sandwiches are fun and delicious, but they're not a very good food to donate because they have to be eaten quickly while they're still warm. Cabot sent me all 128 of these blocks of cheese to donate to the people of New York City, and I wanted to make sure that we did it in the most useful way possible. So I brought 32 pounds of the cheese to the Urban Outreach Center of New York City for them to distribute during their pantry program. Then my plan was to take 16 pounds of the cheese and put it in a community fridge and the other 16 to hand out in the street to random people. But when I got to the community fridge, I saw that it was completely empty. I was excited to see that the community fridge is being used because it was empty, but I'm sad because it was empty. So I think that we need to give the rest of the cheese to that community fridge, and I'm actually going to go and we're going to buy some more supplies. Let's refill the community fridge a little bit. So I packed up the remaining cheese and headed to the grocery store to pick up a whole bunch of stuff that I thought would be helpful in the community fridge. And I think we can call this one a success. So this is the end of the Double Cheese Please series, and I think it's a really good way to end it. We were able to feed so many people. We made over 200 sandwiches that were donated fresh, and we just contributed all this food to the community fridge, and genuinely that came from all of us. Everyone who watched, liked, commented, shared these videos. Really, you guys truly made this possible. I was able to get such large donations and help from Cabot, and we donated all of this food, and I really think this was incredible. It was super fun and amazing, and in the end we had such a tangible impact on the people of New York City. So thank you all.